Hello, and welcome to the Sunshine Study. It's joyous to be with you. I thought today I would talk about the two books that made me a writer, and they have filled my soul so greatly that I thought I'd share them with you because I hope they will fill your soul. And every book I've written 5 now. The next one is in progress. I have another one in the drawer and several in here, stem from these two books. And they stem from these books because these books are full of gracious hope. They're full of courage, a little bit of wit, but mainly they are the epitome of life joy for me. So I thought I'd talk about each one of them and show you them. Because if they've inspired me, I've bought dozens of copies for people. I would like you to have that same blessing. And they're both quite wrecked because I write in my books and I also cover them and put things in. So they are very well loved. Now, here they are. So the first one is the first devotional, which is a reading for every day, that I bought. And like many things in my life, it was during great illness and a desperate need of inspiration. How to keep going through this. That's what I was searching for, wisdom all the time. And this book really, really helped me. So it's Just As I Am by Ruth Etchells. I've actually met Ruth Etchells twice, which was remarkable. And she was luminous. So I wanted to tell you about this book because I'm trying to find a page that's half decent. There is a reading. Oh, sorry, all the bits are falling out because obviously I've got notes, and then there's space for notes. And obviously I filled my notes very well, and there's lots of letters and cards in this. Now, why did I love this so much? Well, the reason I got it was that one of my friends who was away at university had come back to see me. Now, I had a whole generation of pals who went away and I was still at home very sick. And I call it lapping. You know when a runner gets overtaken in a long distance race, I was lapped continually for well over 20 years. But this friend came back and she was a very confident girl. And she said to me, "Come on, Becky, we're going out. What can you manage?" Which was a wonderful statement, especially for somebody who had so little energy. She asked me what I could do rather than impose it, which was humble and kind, but also it made me think it was possible. So I had about an hour and a half's worth of energy per afternoon, which is not bad for somebody with severe ME. It's not good if you're fit and well. So that's a lot, considering a lot of the time I was bedbound. So what could we do in an hour and a half? And the thing I really, really wanted to do was I wanted to go to Durham Cathedral and go in their bookshop and just be in that magical space. And she took me. And she said, "Right, I'll drop you on the door." She was very matter of fact. "And then you don't have to walk too far. I'll park the car." Very thoughtful. "You sit on the wall." She had every part planned. "And then I'll come back and we'll go slowly in. We'll sit down when we get there and we'll do small little journeys to this bookshop." Now, it is a 3-minute walk. It's nothing if you're well, but if you're unwell, you're frail or disabled or in a lot of pain, it may as well be Everest. So she did that and we went in this bookshop. And she was a very, very, shall I say, aggressive atheist. But we tolerated each other beautifully. And she was very clever and generous. And we just respected that we had different opinions. Anyway, she couldn't find a book in the bookshop that she liked. And I couldn't find much. But anyway, it was a small bookshop then. And this book, I kid you not, fell off the shelf and hit my feet. And at the time I had a sort of Dr. Martin boot type things on, and I didn't feel it because the boots were heavy. But this book literally fell into my feet. So I bent down slowly, picked it up very slowly, and wondered what this means. And it has the Turner painting on it, amplified. And of course it was beautiful then. And I think I got this in 1997, and I've read it every year since. So there's another card just fallen out. And I took it home and I started to read it. So there was a reading for each morning, each evening, and it just bookended the day. It helped me get through. It was something I could succeed at. I wasn't well enough to read a novel. I couldn't retain the information. I couldn't do much reading, but a small amount each day of inspiration stopped me from drowning. That's why I write books with short sections in, because you can read a little bit and I want you to take something away from it. So I've never written a long chapter. Each of my books are essentially devotionals. You could read something every morning and evening, and I hope feel better for it. Be wiser, braver, and stronger, and more joyous. So the next time I read this, so there was a month's worth of readings and then readings for special occasions. But the reading, I will tell you at the end of this video, which had the most profound effect on me, it had one sentence on day 9. I remember that, day 9 of the month. So I kept rereading it and I kept finding more and more layers of help. Then I started to write my gratitudes in the prayer notes. They were very small at the start. They were shower, mum, dad, nice pal, comfortable, safe bed. Because often there were many days when I hadn't done anything or seen anybody, or, I've stayed out of hospital. That was an achievement. But this book sort of anchored me in those very early years of distress and discomfort and dysfunction. My immune system was so unregulated. So I started to write that, and every day I would write different ones. Often I'd write the same things. I was still grateful I'd taken myself to the bathroom. I was still grateful for a card or a video or a text. So those things were tiny treasures that filled that book. And then I started to put people's names in that I would pray for. So it was a really important part of my coping. And then when I started to realise you could buy other books with readings in, oh my goodness, that was just too joyous for words. So I had been able to watch Oprah, who had an hourly programme then, and that was a real beacon of light and joy in the day. And sometimes I wasn't well enough to watch all of it, so I'd watch a bit or spread it through the day, but I would think about it. And one of the books she raved about was Simple Abundance. And again, this is got many cards and letters and lots of writing in, but oh my goodness, this was a year-long book, and it was in categories of different values. And the quote that I loved most in that was the Quaker quote of "Let your life speak." So the reason I loved this so much more was that it was a very practical book. It gave us homework and exercises to do. And it talked about vision boards very early on. So this was 2000. But it also talked about an illustrated discovery journal. That you got a sort of a file or a book and you kept putting images and quotes and photos that you loved. But it wasn't something to aspire to. It was also what you already had. And I've often told clients, don't just do a vision board, make a blessings board. All of the blessings and joy and people and kindness and inspiration that's already in you and that you've already had. It's a wonderful foundation of gratitude, joy, and it's fuel for courage. So these two books had a transformational effect on my life. And one of the last pages in Simple Abundance, it said, why don't you go and try and write some meditations? Why don't you try and write a book? Just go on. And I read that on the garden bench in my parents' back garden. It was as far as I could get outside. It was right next to the back door. And it made me wonder. It made me wonder what was possible. I didn't think I could write 365 days of readings, but I could maybe do one. And the power of that, could you just do one? Could you just do 3 or 6 or 9 or 18 or 30? Just think about that. When you've done 30, you've almost done a month's readings. So the grace in these two books kept me going and made me a writer. So think about the books that have inspired you, that have given you your life and your joy, because I think books are the most powerful thing that we have. Often when we're sedentary, often when we're very motivated, often when we're very strong, when we're very ill, there's a levelling force in a book. And of course now there are e-books, there are audio books. None of those things really existed comfortably when I was this ill. But these two books, oh my goodness, I just loved them so much. And I keep coming back to them. Now, the interesting thing about both of these is they were full of inspirational quotes from great thinkers, great writers, great people. But the quote that I love most was actually that Ruth Etchells wrote herself. And here it is. Today's joys are finger posts to heaven. Let's just say that again. Today's joys are finger posts to heaven. So every time I see a sign that sort of says, Newcastle this way, Durham that way, South Shields, Sunderland, Northeastern girl, Northumberland, Cornwall, is I think they're finger posts to heaven. And do you remember old-fashioned signs with an actual hand that went this way, that way? So today's joys are signs towards heaven and of heaven on earth now. That's why I love joy so much, and that's where it came from. Today's joys are finger posts to heaven. Whatever you believe, wherever you are, whatever state you're in, whatever you're doing, the moments of tiny treasures are heaven on earth. I hope that helps, my friends. Think about the books you love. Remember, I've got books, and they're on my website shop, www.drrebecca.org.uk. Get a lovely abundant package when you order one, and they are reduced at the moment, so I would go and have a look and find yourself a bit of daily joy, daily courage, daily hope, and daily smiles. I want anything I've ever written or said to leave people feeling wiser, braver, stronger, and more joyous. So I look forward to seeing you next time. Please like and comment. I love to hear the books that you like, the books that have inspired you, and the books that you've written or want to write. There's the next adventure for you. Take care, my friends. God bless, be safe, and happy reading and happy writing.